Hello students, so here is Sanjay Joseph sir. We are discussing chemistry of standard 10th and we are in the chapter metals and non-metals, and we are proceeding to the reaction. We are proceeding to those parts where we are studying the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. If you want to see my previous videos, then the links of those videos of the chapter metal and non-metals are given in the description box below. Now here we start. Now we have already discussed about the reactions of metals and non-metals with oxygen and water in my previous videos. Now we come to two more important type of reaction, that is reaction of metals and non-metals with acids, and then we will move on to the displacement reactions of metals with metal salts. So here we go. See, there is a very simple and general method to understand the reaction of metals with acid. You know, acids are what? Acids contain replaceable hydrogen atoms, isn't it? Or replaceable hydrogen. So metal with hydrochloric acid when reacts, then metal will displace the hydrogen because hydrogen is replaceable in the acid. But yes, those metals will replace hydrogen which are above hydrogen in the reactivity series. So if we take up, say for example, the reaction of sodium with hydrochloric acid, whether dilute or concentrated, we will always get the metal chloride and hydrogen gas will be evolved. And let us balance it first. Okay, we have balanced, and hydrogen gas will be evolved. If you take up a burning splinter near the test tube, if you are doing this experiment or reactions in a test tube, then if you will take up the glowing splinter, then what will happen, a burning splinter, then the whole hydrogen gas will burn with a pop sound because hydrogen is highly inflammable. So that means in the nutshell, hydrogen gas will be released. So most of these gases, normally most of these metals, say for example, if I take up, say for example, magnesium reacting with hydrochloric acid, say for example, I am taking concentrated hydrochloric acid, then magnesium chloride, this is a salt as you know, plus hydrogen gas will be evolved. So these things are very simple, but if you take up gold with hydrochloric acid, gold will not be able to displace hydrogen because gold is below hydrogen in the reactivity series. So no reaction will take place under ordinary circumstances. Silver, gold, copper, etc. normally do not react with concentrated or dilute hydrochloric acid. Now when we talk about sulfuric acid, then what happens? In sulfuric acid there are two different ways metals will behave, or the products, we can say products of the product will be different in case of dilute H2SO4 and in case of concentrated H2SO4. In dilute H2SO4, generally what will happen, metal sulphate will be formed and hydrogen may be released. Metal salt Na2SO4 will be formed and hydrogen will be released or may be released normally if the dilution is good. Then what happens, we are getting what to say, metal sulphate. Now here I am mentioning dilute. Alright, dilute, but you remember concentrated sulfuric acid is a very strong oxidizing agent. Then what happens, the hydrogen which if released when metals react with concentrated sulfuric acid, then the hydrogen released will straight away react with the nascent oxygen produced by sulfuric acid, concentrated sulfuric acid, and water will be formed. So instead of the hydrogen gas, what do we get? We get sulfur dioxide gas. And therefore, suppose I am talking about calcium, how does it react with conc sulfuric acid? Then what will happen? Remember, calcium sulphate obviously will be formed, but sulfur dioxide gas will be formed and water will be formed. This is very significant thing to understand later normally in your competitive examination frame of mind. This sulfur dioxide is a strong bleaching agent, it is an acidic oxide, etc. Sulfur dioxide is a very strong bleaching agent. Normally if you take a red rose over there and put on the mouth of the test tube, the red rose will get bleached and it will convert into white rose, and it is temporary bleaching agent, then therefore after some time the color comes back. So these are important informations you have to understand, children, that whenever you are talking, that means you can understand that there is a similarity of the products formed when metals react with dilute hydrochloric acid, dilute sulfuric acid and concentrated hydrochloric acid. In all of them, hydrogen will be released and product will be metal salt. Once again, what I am trying to tell you, let us see. If metal reacts with either dilute or conc hydrochloric acid, then metal salt will be formed and hydrogen gas will be released. Same thing is there if metal react with dilute sulfuric acid, metal salt and hydrogen will be released in most of the cases. But if metal react with concentrated sulfuric acid, as I said, sulfuric acid normally is a strong oxidizing agent. Concentrated sulfuric acid produces nascent oxygen, which will react in case the metal initially releases hydrogen. That hydrogen is straight away used up by the nascent oxygen to form water, and in form of gas, sulfur dioxide gas is released, which is a very good bleaching agent. Now children, now we come to the second part of our discussion. Now we come to the displacement of metals from metal salt. Let us try to see, you know the reactivity series, isn't it? You know the reactivity series. Reactivity series is like this, isn't it? PCS magentile, that is potassium, PSC magentile, sorry, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, PSC magentile, zinc, zintal, iron, nickel, tin, lead. And then we have hydrogen. Then I had told you chief minister, that is copper, minister is mercury, smart, silver, that is silver, good politician, that is gold, and politician means platinum. So this is, you have to be very well versed with this reactivity series, then only you can understand displacement. This is metals arranged in decreasing order of their reactivity. So here iron is higher in the reactivity series than copper. Therefore, this reaction is possible. The blue solution of copper sulphate turns green if you drop iron pieces in that. Then iron sulphate is formed and copper is displaced, and this iron sulphate is normally green in color. So the color of the reaction medium changes because copper sulphate, which was blue, copper is displaced. Now iron sulphate is formed, which will be green. So gradually the color shift from blue to green, and then copper is displaced. But if I say, does this reaction take place, if I say aluminum sulphate, Al2SO4 whole thrice, plus say for example, if I tell, does Fe react with aluminum cells, then you will have to say, no, the reaction does not take place, because have a look, iron is lower in the reactivity series than aluminum. So reactions in general condition will not take place. So remember, this displacement reaction is an important reaction. Now you will ask, what question can be asked and how to solve this question. I have taken one question which you should try to understand. This, you have to have a very good knowledge about the reactivity series, and you have to keep this in your memory, otherwise during the exam you have to write this while solving the question paper. First is, they have given some sulfates and they say that these metals, will this air displace or not. So they have done the reaction, they have made a chart. Now they are asking me the question about which is more reactive. Now first thing is, what are the metals? First you have to arrange these in order of their reactivity. So which is the most reactive among them? Then let us see PSC magentile. So zinc is first in line. Let us keep some space. Then next come iron. Iron is next. That means iron will be next. Iron, and then comes copper, and then lastly silver. So this is the order. copper, and then lastly silver. Now we go to check. Now there is one, now among D, there is one which cannot displace the metal. None of the metals are getting displaced. So that means D is less reactive than iron, less reactive than copper, less reactive than zinc, less reactive than silver. That means it should be somewhere below here. So this is the least reactive, D. So we finished the work of D. D's position we have got. Since it is not able to displace any of the metals from the sulphate salt or nitrate salt which is given, so that means it is the least reactive. Alright, then what is the reaction between B and copper sulphate? So let us see. Now here also C, let us have a look. C does not react with iron, C does not react with copper, C does not react with zinc, but C displaces silver. So it will be higher in reactivity series than silver. So it will be above silver, but copper it is not able to displace. So it will be below copper. So C's position is here now. D's position was here, now C is here. So now they are telling what is the reaction between B and copper sulphate. So B and copper sulphate, anyway let us go ahead. Now they are telling B can displace, what to say, B can displace iron. That means B is more reactive than iron and and it does not have any reaction with zinc. That means it is less reactive with zinc. So B is above iron. Now let us come to A. In A they are telling with iron there is no reaction. A does not react with, what to say, A does not react with iron sulphate. So A does not react with iron sulphate. That means A is less reactive than iron. So it is below iron and it displaces copper. That means it is above iron. So this is the case. Now we will be able to solve. Now we have arranged all the 8 metals. Now they are telling what is the reaction between B and copper sulphate. So B is here higher than copper. So B plus copper sulphate. So what will happen? B will replace. So BSO4 whatever be the valency plus the copper metal will be displaced. So done. Now they are telling arrange A, B, C, D in decreasing order of the reactivity. So the most reactive is B, followed by A, then C and then D. So the least reactive is D. So this is how the questions will be asked in standard 10 children about reaction of metals and non-metals with acids. Remember that. And also non-metals do not react with acids at all. Non-metals under normal circumstances and within your course, whatever, there may be some exceptional cases, but in your course you have to understand non-metals do not react with acids at all. Alright. Even in non-metal there is a reactivity series. Alright, fluorine is the most reactive of the non-metals, if you can say. If you talk about halogens, then fluorine, chlorine, iodine, like that. So they have got their reactivity series. The reactivity series normally for metal is that which loses the electron more readily. The more readily a metal loses electron, the more reactive it is. Apart from some other combinations, the most important combination is this, or the most important fact is this. And same way, the more readily a non-metal gains electron is most reactive. But normally it is said, try to understand that the larger metal is more reactive among metals. If you compare metals, then the larger metals are normally more reactive than the smaller ones. What do I mean by larger metal? I mean to talk about the size of atoms, not even size of atoms, number of orbitals, like 2, 8, 8, 1. There is 4 orbit. So the electron to be lost is if in an orbit which is very far from the nucleus, that metal will be more reactive. And similarly in non-metal, what happens? Electron has to be gained. So the electrons, which is the incoming electrons from some other metal, if it is close to the nucleus of the non-metal, it gets attracted very easily. Therefore for non-metals are more reactive. However, there are other factors too. So children, in a just non-metals and metal chapter here over here, for, in terms of reactions, we are ending. So have subscribe my channel. This is Sanjay sir and teaching you all, and very soon in October I will be trying to bring up videos on which exactly question papers will be solved. Thanks a lot.